Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Norma Volfan. Joined alongside with Ryan. We got some baseball right off the rip. We're going to talk about it. I mean, really good series against Kentucky. Can't put anything against Kentucky. They played really well against us. Honestly, in my opinion, I think we should have swept Kentucky. We gave them the game on Friday. But again, no hate towards Kentucky. I think their baseball team is really good this year. Probably not the only time we're going to see them. But yeah, Ryan, what did you think about the series as a whole?
Well, number one, you just said it. Kentucky is a terrific team. I don't think Tennessee beating them in a 3-game series, 2-1, means they're not a good team. They can hit, they can pitch. Well, on Sunday they couldn't pitch, but they can hit. And at least for 2 games of the series, they held us in check pretty good on offense. So, I mean, they're a good team, and Tennessee won a very highly competitive series, which got kind of chippy on Sunday with a few little shenanigans going on, some warnings issued. But overall, it was a great series for Tennessee. They came through with the comeback on Sunday to take that rubber match and went back home to Knoxville victorious. So you couldn't ask for much more besides the sweep, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it on the last podcast. Neither one of us expected a sweep. Now, is Tennessee capable of doing so? Absolutely. They should have won Friday, but, it's baseball. It happens. But really good way. I'm honestly really proud of the team. I think it shows a lot for this team because we've talked about it before. I think pitching is going to be the biggest issue, obviously, because our lineup from 1 through 9, I mean, I feel like Tony's going to figure out that last 7 through 9 hole, and, I mean, this lineup's dangerous all over, and it's hard to lose with a lineup like that as long as you get, some kind of good outing from a pitcher, maybe like 5 innings. I don't know how Tennessee loses. I mean, obviously, sometimes the bats don't show up, but, I think if they could figure these games out, especially against teams like Kentucky, the lineup kept them in the game. I mean, you could see Kentucky had no problem scoring either, but I just think this team, they have the grit. They could win these important games. They swept LSU. I know they're having a struggle bus of a season, but I mean, LSU is still a very talented baseball team. And they're going to get into this little end of the season run gauntlet here, against Florida and Vandy and, South Carolina. I mean, you're running into some tough teams, and you'll see, what this team's got in the next couple of weeks. So, really, really enjoy watching this team. They definitely have the heart to win. So that's definitely a plus when it comes to postseason play.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Just talking about the Friday night game, you get to the 7th inning with a 3-1 lead. They get some runners on base from hit by pitches and walks and whatnot. And like I said during last week's episode, if you commit an error against a team like Kentucky, they're going to make you pay, and they sure as hell did, especially when you commit 2 errors on the same play. I mean, I don't know what was going on with Dryling's throw to home on that go-ahead run, but it transcended any kind of sense, and we dropped that game. But even with those errors, if you score more than 3 damn runs, you win that game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, Tennessee gave it to him. Oh man, what a show it would have been if Tennessee swept Kentucky, especially with the season they're having. To all the Kentucky fans saying, "Oh, look at the standings, look at the standings." I don't really care about the standings. We smoked that ass. Um, that's all that matters. But yeah, I think Kentucky's a really good baseball team. Like I said before, I think this was an awesome series win. I think this will provide Tennessee with a lot of momentum going forward, and I'm hoping AJ Russell could get healthy because man, if we could have an AJ Russell and Causey combination on Friday, that's hard to beat. That's hard to beat on a Friday. And then you got Beam on Saturday. And then Sechrist has been pitching really well on Sunday. For the most part, I mean, he has been asked to, fill some shoes that, usually Tennessee, I mean, after having, the pitching staffs in the past, I mean, he's doing really well, in my opinion. And that's against, good teams. So we'll see how it pans out with the pitching, but hopefully AJ Russell could get healthy because that will really help this team out.
Yeah, and speaking about the pitching, the performance from Tennessee's pitching on Saturday was phenomenal in my opinion. I mean, Beam only gets you 4 1/3 innings, but then Aaron Combs comes out of the bullpen and finishes the game, and he looked completely unhittable. I mean, he shut down the Wildcats. I mean, it's funny though, the Homer announcers, which is the norm when you're talking about a stream only game, they were like just groaning after every strikeout that Combs induced, and I can't say enough about how good Combs did on Saturday to close out that game because on Sunday the bullpen situation was a little bit hairy. I mean, you had Kirby Cannell having to eat up 4 innings or 4 1/3, and we saw how that went. I mean, once people can see Kirby more than one time, they kind of catch up with it. That's just the kind of pitcher he is. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's more of a specialist, and we had to have him step up and get outs, which to his credit, he did get outs, but he did also give up runs. So, yeah, I think it was very important for Combs to eat all those innings on Saturday night.
Absolutely, and that's one thing you're going to need in the postseason is those 2 to 3 guys that you can rely on to come into a game like Snead has. Combs, we've witnessed it this past weekend. I mean, AJ Causey out of the bullpen has been awesome. Kind of reminds me of another guy from last year, but yeah, you need those guys that are able to come out of the bullpen like Kirby. Kirby, he had a little bit of a rough time, but he's been awesome this year coming out of the bullpen when we need him. So, like I said, when it comes to postseason play, you need those guys to step up, come out of the bullpen, and throw some gems for you when you need them.
Yeah, are we concerned at all about Nate Snead's weekend? I know he didn't play awful, but he did. He was in the game on Friday when we gave up the lead, which, in defense of him, was because of errors. And then on Sunday, he wasn't able to go very long. Had to have Kirby relieve him then as well. I'm not concerned. I just want to know what you think about it, Jim.
Yeah, I'm not concerned either. I mean, you're going to have your off games. I mean, you can't expect a guy, even a guy like Chase Burns. I mean, yeah, the guy's got electric stuff, but some teams are going to be ready for that. I mean, that's the scouting report for Nate Snead is the dude pumps 100. You better be ready for the fastball. And that's what I love about Nate Snead. He's not afraid to throw that thing. And and I feel like he wasn't as amped as he was in a couple games because you could tell when Nate Snead is there. If Nate Snead is pumping 100, that's the Nate Snead you want. There's some games this year that he's come out of the bullpen, he's throwing 97, 96. And yeah, that's still hard, but you could just tell it's a different type of like adrenaline rush or whatever you want to call it. But that's how I know if Nate Snead's going to be the Nate Snead we know and love is if he's pumping 100, boy, watch out. Because my favorite thing of him is when he strikes someone out and he pulls out the gun and blows it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Nate Snead we've all become accustomed to watching if you're a Tennessee baseball fan. And like you said, you just sometimes have your off games, your off weekends, and Kentucky has great hitters. I mean, for seriously on Sunday, I was thinking Tennessee might want to think about walking Ryan Waldschmidt because he was hammering everything we threw to the plate, no matter who was pitching for us.
Oh yeah, all weekend.
I mean, he's a killer, and you can go on down the line. I mean, they have awesome hitters. I mean, it's crazy to say, but what's not crazy to say when you're 15-3 in the SEC, you're bound to have some good hitters, and he's one of them. But
We got to talk about good hitters, though. You know who we got to talk about.
Oh yeah. Christian Moore just winning. Like, where would this team be without Christian Moore? I mean,
the dude's unbelievable. What a weekend. I mean, 4 home runs, 3 home runs in one game. Like I said on a previous podcast, I mean, he's not a liability in the field anymore. I mean, you're gonna have your occasional errors, but he's been good, and the bat's just been. I don't care what anyone says. Even I know Texas A&M has a good front three, but Tennessee has the best 1 through 3 combo. I would say 1 through 4, 1 through 5 actually. I mean, the fact that you have to face Christian Moore, Blake Burke, Billy Amick, Kavaris Tears, and Dylan Dreiling, and even Dean Crowley, he's been smoking the ball too. But 1 through 5 is just, those are all future MLB players, man. Like, it's just scary when you're a pitcher and you have to come into that.
Yeah, I could see the debate for Tennessee having a better or equal to top 3 players in the lineup to Texas A&M. If you're talking about top 5, I think we have A&M beat handily. When you add in Tears and Dreiling, I've said it for weeks now that I think Dreiling is the best overall hitter, the one with the prettiest swing, the one that spends the most time in the zone with his swing, his barrel of the bat in the zone. I think he's whenever he hits something, it's going to be a line drive, like it's going to go hard somewhere. And I mean, the team can hit. I mean, you scored 13 runs in one game, and you only had 2 runs through 5 innings. I mean, that's elite production. And you said this last week, Jim. There was going to be a game where both teams are just killing the ball, and Tennessee was able to come out on top in that game.
Exactly. I mean, the lineup, I'm never nervous about this lineup. It's literally, is the pitching going to be there? That's literally the only question I have. I mean, like I said, you're going to have days where you're not hitting 5, 6 home runs a game. You're going to have them, which is fine. But it like I said, if the pitching can turn it around and just be average to above average, Tennessee's almost, I wouldn't say unbeatable. I mean, no one's unbeatable this year. I mean, the conference is stacked, but Tennessee's one of the most difficult teams to beat if they're pitching and turn it around. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're about to talk about Missouri this weekend. Actually, it starts tomorrow. So as people are listening to this, it'll be today, and it's going to be interesting. I think personally, this should be. Before I go into it, are we done talking about the Kentucky series?
Yeah, for the most part. I was going to say, just add on about our pitching. It's really not as bad as some people make it out to be. I think it's just bad compared to what Tennessee has been used to the last few years, because Tennessee still ranks 13th in the country in team ERA. I mean, it's just not as good as it has been, but it's still good. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because we're used to like primetime Chase Dolander. We had Chase Burns, Beam. You go on and name them all, but it's just what's killing us this year is the injuries. I mean, you got a guy like AJ Russell that's hurt, that is a Friday starter on a bunch of teams, and It's just, like I said, if he could get healthy, and we've seen him at the beginning of the season. I mean, he was throwing darts against Texas Tech, and if we could get that AJ Russell back, it's going to be very interesting on how this team does this year.
Yeah, for sure. So talking about Missouri, I mean, Tigers aren't very overwhelming as far as the win-loss record. The most glaring thing to me about what they've done so far is that they were able to sweep Florida. And say what you want about Florida this year, they're still very talented. They have one of the best players in college baseball, and they were able to sweep them. And now a team that's capable of that
And they beat Kentucky too.
Yeah, they also took a game from Kentucky. So, Missouri's a capable team, but at the end of the day, I think this is a prime opportunity to get very close to being even or even surpassing Kentucky this weekend if things fall our way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is prime time. Hey, they swept you last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is revenge season. I think Dalton Bargo should play, and this is one of those where you want to play against your old team and show out. But I think it's good. This is prime time where you want to take this sweep, and I don't know who Kentucky plays this weekend, but it turns into a tight race if Kentucky loses a couple this week.
Mm-hmm. Let me just go look real quick, but
they play South Carolina.
Yeah, but talking about, I mean, you're at home, you're trying to avenge a loss from last year that started your season off on a horrendous note that the team almost didn't dig out of. I mean, that led to us starting 5-10 in SEC play, and I'm sure they want to have some get back on them. And it's just a series that Tennessee should take care of business in. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not this matchup. You really don't have to take a deep dive into. As long as our bats are there, I just don't. I don't think there's not a lot of teams that can keep up with that. So, like I said, I think I'm predicting the sweep. I think Tennessee will take these 3 games and then win the midweek to keep this streak going on a nice. I think it'll be a 6-game win streak going into South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri gives up 6 runs a game as a team. Their offense isn't crazy. Like, they're not overwhelmingly good in any one aspect of the game, and you're playing at home, and you're avenging a loss from last season, a sweep from last season, and now you are in the thick of a race that is very winnable for Tennessee. So, I think it's safe to say it would be disappointing if this was not a sweep.
Exactly. I like I said, there's not really a lot to go on for this game. Or this series, but we talked about it all. I think the bats will be there. The crowd's going to be there. A lot of people want revenge, so it'll be an interesting series. I think both of us called the sweep, and it's going to be fun to watch tomorrow. So we'll. It's kind of nice having a baseball game on tomorrow because there's nothing really to watch.
Well, we got some NFL draft.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
We'll get into that in a little bit, but you want to talk about some basketball transfer news?
Yeah, and we'll go right off the rip. I think the closest one probably to committing to whatever school is probably Milicic from Charlotte. I think he's trending Tennessee's way. A guy that, I mean, he averaged 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists a game, which is something Tennessee needs. I think he could be probably the starting 4 come next season. What about you? What do you think Igor brings to the table?
I think I mentioned it a little bit last week, but the fact that he can shoot 3 at the percentage he does, it's somebody that Tennessee would be thrilled to have. I mean, a big man who's 6'10", shooting 38% from three would be a huge addition to the team. I mean, that's the most exciting thing about it if he does end up in Knoxville.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's just overall a great option to have. You spread the floor, especially with Dubar coming in, Zakai coming back, Meshack. You got all these guys around to where you're not going to get a Dalton Connect. I mean, Dalton Connect's like a once-in-a-lifetime guy. And just having pieces that could fill gaps to where if you need a big three late in the game, they might leave a guy like him open. But, it's just having more tools in Rick Barnes' belt other than having, oh, hey, DK, please go score 40 points a game.
Yeah.
Like having a guy that could drop 10, 12, Dubar scoring 15, 16, Zakai doing his thing. I mean, and we're going to talk about two other guys that are going to be huge pieces if we could land both. Here's the thing. The three guys we're about to talk about, Milicic being the first one, if Tennessee can land all three of these guys, my God, like Tennessee will be they're going to be a problem. They're going to be an absolute problem next year.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. The next guy that you alluded to, Felix, I hope I say his last name right, Okpara, 6'11" center from Ohio State. Anytime you can grab a 6'11" big man out of the portal, I mean that's always a big deal. I mean those kind of players don't just grow in trees, and when you're trying to replace two post players who entered their portal from your team last year, it would be a nice piece to acquire.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean the last 3 games of his were awesome. He played 24 minutes, had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. This guy is more of a defender. He's going to be basically Jonas Adu on the defensive end. I haven't really looked into his film quite so often to where, but I mean, he's putting up, he's had games where he's put up 16, 13, 12. But he is the enforcer. This guy is going to be the guy you want in the paint defending that rim. And yep. I think he's just going to be another good fit. I think this is a guy you need, especially with Adu leaving and Awaka leaving, because I think if Milicic and Felix both come here, I don't think Awaka comes back. I just don't think. Yeah. Now, would I love him back? Absolutely. I think having a mixture between both guys would be awesome. I just don't see it. I think he just wants to get some playing time, more playing time. But we'll see. That's another one that could be interesting once, the season comes about and see where Awaka ends up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Awaka was going to come back, he would have been back by now.
I agree. Yeah.
I really think Rick Barnes and the whole staff is tired of waiting on it. So that's why these names are starting to hit the message boards and rumor mills. I mean, like I really, there's probably a 10% chance Awaka comes back at this point. And just looking at Okpara's numbers at Ohio State last year, 23 minutes a game, 6 points, 6 rebounds were his averages. I mean, that's a solid piece. I know Awaka played 10 less minutes a game, but he only averaged 5 points and 4 rebounds a game. So this is a piece that could satisfy Awaka's rebounding ability as well as Adu's rim protecting ability. So for that reason, I think it would be a fantastic piece to add to next year's team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the guy that we're going to talk about now is the main attraction. I think if Tennessee, which they are the clear favorite from some sources that I heard from, I mean, this guy, Chaz Lanier, out of Nashville, Tennessee, born and raised in Tennessee. This dude averages 20 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 2 assists. The main thing that sticks out to me is this dude shoots 44% from the three-point line and 88% free throw shooter. I mean, this dude would be a problem for, defenses to worry about, because here's my thing, is if you got Zakai Ziegler, Chaz, Milicic, Dubar, all these guys that could shoot the three. And we said it last year about, having Santiago and all that. These guys are better shooters than them. And it's going to be really fun to watch. If Tennessee could land these three, and I mean, they're not out of the question too. They're still battling for Tyson as well.
Yep.
Now, I don't think he's going to be a Tennessee Vol. I think he'll probably stay in his home state. But, I mean, it's not over yet. And the fact that he went on his visit and didn't commit right there to North Carolina says a lot. So, Tennessee could be in the running for him as well. So, but I really want to talk about Chaz. I want to hear what you have to say about him. I think he'd be a huge get for this coming year.
Yeah. I mean, being in the Nashville area, Chaz Lanier is a guy that I've heard about for years now, because when he was at Innsworth, he was a problem. I mean, this guy was good. Now, he didn't go to a well-renowned school, but people around Nashville knew how good this kid was. And, I mean, you just said it. I mean, this is the first thing that jumps out to me, too, just looking at his line from last year. It's his three-point shooting. And I think that's what Tennessee is focusing on in this year's transfer portal window, is three-point shooting. And so far, they're satisfying that, besides Felix Akbar from Ohio State, which is the rim-protected potential piece. But Milicic can shoot threes. This guy can shoot threes. Dubar can shoot threes. The one that we've already secured from Hofstra, the transfer we've already secured. And, I mean, it's an obvious focus that they are searching for. And I think if they were to be able to land Lanier and Milicic, I mean, Tennessee might shoot 43s a game.
And that's fine with me as long as you're hitting them. And that's another thing. I mean, Zakai could shoot. I mean, yeah, he has his off games, but Zakai could shoot as well. So he's another problem. And he loves the pass. He loves his assists. So I think that's another reason why a guy like Chaz would love to come to Tennessee, is you have a point guard like Zakai. I mean, he's not the guy that's going to go, if he needs to score 20, he will. But he's a facilitator. He's a floor general. And why wouldn't you, as a shooting guard, want to come in and play for that? And not only that, I think playing for a team like Tennessee will get his name out there, especially for an NBA draft. I mean, if he could put those numbers up like Dalton did, I'm not saying he's going to average 25 a game, but I mean, he averaged 20 where he was. I mean, if he could even average 17, 18 points a game, I mean, that's a great thing that NBA teams will acknowledge.
I mean, 100%. I mean, this guy can pour in points. I mean, he had 4 30-point games last year for the North Florida Ospreys. And me and Bryce watched him play against Austin P in the A-Sun conference tournament, and we were like, who the hell is this kid? And then I remembered, oh, that's the guy from Innsworth. And he almost willed them to a win against Austin. I mean, because that game did go to overtime. I mean, this kid is good. He's a difference maker. And, again, just another piece that would be tremendous add for the team next year.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, being that he has a do not contact clause on his transfer portal news, tells me he knows where he's going. And, well, I wouldn't say knows where he's going. He definitely has maybe at most 2 schools. I just know Tennessee's a huge front runner for him, and I would not be surprised within a couple days we hear that he's coming to Tennessee.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned a second ago talking about K. Tyson. the Belmont player in the portal who's from Charlotte. Like, the fact that he didn't commit to North Carolina after he took that visit right then and there tells me that Tennessee did a good enough job to make him even consider Tennessee. When you're talking about a guy from North Carolina being on campus, who they obviously want, and he didn't commit right then and there. So that's not out of the question either. Tennessee has 5 scholarships left to play with, and there's 4 guys right here that I would be thrilled to fill those spots.
Oh my god, dude! It's probably not going to happen. If we can land 3 out of the 4, it would be awesome. But imagine we landed all 4. Oh my god! I don't know what you would do. How do you defend that?
You're talking about the potential to have a top 5, maybe even the best 3-point shooting team in the country if you're able to land all those players.
Bro, K. Tyson's 47% from 3. Like,
K. Tyson's a stone cold killer.
Yeah, I think, and they have him listed as a guard, bro. He's 6'7". He's 6'7". That's not a guard. That's not a guard. That's LaMelo Ball is 6'7". That's crazy.
That's NBA size right there. I mean, and Chaz Lanier's 6'4". I mean, these are some dudes who can shoot. They have good size. They probably have good length when you're talking about defense. And like I say all the time, they wouldn't even be talking to these kids if they don't have an interest in playing defense. So, you know.
And that's one thing I'm kind of questioning is, like, what is Rick Barnes' approach? Because we know what Dalton was. I mean, like, Dalton knew, like, he wasn't coming here for the money. He was coming here because he wanted to play for Rick Barnes and get coached hard. And I think the Dalton Connect story is what gets these guys thinking, like, hey, I could do that too. And Rick Barnes teaches defense, which NBA scouts see that. I mean, now Dalton Connect wasn't a great defender, but you could tell over the season he got better.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an average, slightly above average defender like Connect was, but you're given 20-plus points a game, I'll take that. And obviously, Rick Barnes has shown that he will take that as well.
Yeah, the Vols will be the talk of the town if they can land 3 out of the 4. And like you said, we got the scholarships for it. And we're not even talking about the guys coming back, bro. I mean, you got Zakai, Meshack, you got Estrella, you got Cameron Carr. I mean, you got so many athletes on this team still, and you're just adding to the fire, man. I think, watch out for Tennessee next year if, they could, like I said, land at least 3 out of the 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the metronome-like skills of Rick Barnes to keep a program in a good spot and rarely have a down year. So it's just a continuation of that fact.
Absolutely.
Anything else on basketball recruiting? Have you heard anything else from the rumor mill?
No, I think those are the main 4 right now. I feel like they're focused on those 4. Because I do truly believe that, K. Tyson and not committing is a huge deal. So I think it's those 4 right now that Tennessee's really trying to pull in the boat. And I don't know if you've seen Austin Price's tweets and his cryptic messages with the gifts and stuff. Yeah. I expect Felix and I expect Milicic to be committing within the next couple days. And the same thing with Chaz. I think he's another one that within a week, I feel like, so with the do not contact thing, I believe within a week he's going to say where he's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one last thing before we get off basketball here. Tennessee and Rick Barnes did land a high school recruit over the weekend as well, with a 4-star center out of Hoover, Alabama, Dwayne Brown. 6'9", 250. That sounds like good size to me. And, just like I said, I don't think Rick Barnes has any plans of retiring next year if he's recruiting for 2025. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing we'll talk about, Tennessee football on the other end, They definitely got a good one out of the state of Tennessee. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but Radarius Jackson, 4-star wide receiver out of Memphis, committed to Tennessee. He is in the top 80 nationally, number 12 wide receiver in the 2025 class. Definitely was talking to George McIntyre and wanted to be around a guy like him. He was talking about how George is a great quarterback, and he would love for him to be throwing some footballs to him. And I mean, Tennessee, man, watch out for Tennessee football, because this is where Josh Heupel is going to, turn the corner, I think, in my opinion, is these recruits that he's recruiting are getting older and the more talent than what was previous, like Wes Walker and, Tyler Barron. All these guys are out. They're gone. And it's all Josh Heupel's team now. And it's going to be really interesting. I think Tennessee has a bunch of recruits that are going to be swaying Tennessee's way. And I think it's going to be another I'm hoping for a top 10 class for 2025.
If they keep going the way they're going, and based on what I'm hearing, Tennessee's in the running for tons of elite talent here in the next month or two, looking to the next class. So,
well, I mean, look at the offensive linemen they're talking to. I mean,
oh my God, just stud after stud.
Yeah, you got Matthews out of New Jersey. Dude's a monster. You see pictures of him standing next to fans? The dude's, and he looks like a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
And then you got Sanders. Sanders, I mean, I think Tennessee is going to, kill it and this recruiting cycle. I think you watch out for Tennessee. I think they're going to have a lot of big commitments this year.
I mean, who doesn't want to play with Nico for the next? I guess they would get 1 year with Nico if he decides to leave early. But who doesn't want to play with George too? I mean, this is just what happens when you get the big time quarterback committed early. So I definitely expect more steam to be put on, and for Tennessee to really get cranked up in recruiting here over the summer. Now, talking about some players who've already made their mark at Tennessee, Jim, who do you think will be off the board first from the Tennessee Volunteers for the NFL draft this weekend, starting tomorrow night?
My best guess, I mean, we talked about it before the pod, but I'm assuming it's going to be Jalen Wright. I think his, draft stock went up tremendously after the draft combine. The dude is just, and his stats talk for themselves. I mean, you could talk about the Tennessee offense all you want, but Jalen Wright is a dude. I think he's going to be one of I think he'll be the first ball off the board. And then I think you talked about it earlier. I mean, Joe Milton, I would not be surprised to go. He'll be in the late rounds, but I think there's going to be a team that tests the water on him, because his draft combine also was really good, and his pro day was really good. So I expect the team to take him at least, and try to do what they do. Because here's my opinion about Joe Milton: is if Joe Milton can get behind a quarterback that has experience, like a Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, or someone to teach him, the little things, because we know he's got the arm, he's got the mental fortitude. Like, I think you just need someone to mentor him for a year or two, and I think Joe Milton could be a really good NFL quarterback. I mean, the dude's got the tangibles, he's got the absolute cannon of an arm. It's just I hate the slack he gets, because, and he's a great dude. He's a great dude. I hate the slack he gets, because I think he's a great quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many games last year where you were so frustrated at him, and it's because he has the talent. Tennessee wasn't able to get the most out of him, and he wasn't able to put it all together on the field. I mean, that's all I got to say about Joe Milton. I wish him the best. It would kind of make me mad if he goes on to be a great quarterback, because I know he could have done it at Tennessee if things fell a little bit differently. But the guy that I'm, you know, hurting so much for right now is Kamal Hadden, because I think if he wasn't coming off an injury, if he was able to play the last half of the season, he would probably have played himself into the second or third round, maybe even the first round.
Yeah, I mean the dude was a stud last year. After being at a game where the crowd booed him,
Oh God.
and the dude had the stellar season until he got hurt, and he was one if not the best corner in the country. And like you said, I feel for him. The team's going to take him, and I hope he just does what he does and gets on a roster somewhere and balls out.
Yeah. So Jalen will probably go first. I think we both agree on that. Somebody will take a flyer on Milton in the middle to late rounds. I'm assuming Haddon will go 6th or 7th round, but the other name that I'm hearing that will be off the board is McAllen Castles. I think teams are liking what they're seeing from him, so I think he doesn't draw to the undrafted free agent status. I think he gets picked on day 3, and that's another guy who I think if things fell a little bit differently, if he had Milton throwing him the ball with a little bit more accuracy, if things fell differently, he could have played himself into the middle rounds instead of being picked late. So Castles is the last name that I'm hearing that could be drafted. The rest, you're looking at undrafted free agents. So
Yeah, well, McCastles he has the tangibles too. I mean, the dude could block really well. He obviously showed that he could catch the ball. Um, it'll be interesting. I think you're right. I think he'll be a little bit earlier off the board. I think it'll be Jalen Wright, McCastles, Milton.
no, you're expecting McAllen Castles to make a big jump. Teams to fall in love with them, huh?
It's not that. It's just I just don't know how teams are looking at Joe Milton. That's what's getting me is like I expect Joe Milton to be like a 5th to 7th round, and I just feel like if Joe Milton goes to the 7th round, that McCastles could potentially be above him.
Yeah. It is just Castles, by the way.
Nah, same thing.
You know, it took me weeks to remember hey, is this guy's name McAllen Castles or Callan McCastles?
Yeah.
But last thing, unless you have anything else, Jim, I know you are a self-admitted transplant to Tennessee, grew up in Long Island. You are a Giants fan through and through. But
Yeah,
who do you
sadly.
think? Who do you think the Titans will take first off the board tomorrow with the 7th overall pick?
I mean, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, I think the Titans would be stupid not to take Joe Alt. I think they'd be stupid not to take a lineman. And all the hate I've given towards Will Levis, if you're going the Will Levis route, get him protected. Like that was his biggest issue. He never really had time to throw the ball last year. He was just getting pummeled, and you just need. I feel like that's the right route to go, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked to see Brock Bowers move.
Now that would be a pick. I mean, I agree with you. If Joe Alt out of Notre Dame is available at number 7, you have got to take him, or else you're going to end up like the Colts with how they treated Andrew Luck, and he retired before he like in the middle of his prime because the team never committed to protecting him. He was sick of getting injured. He was like, I'm not sacrificing my long term health for this, and he retired. Uh, the Titans are going the Will Levis route, and say what you want about him. I think Levis showed a lot of flash last year when he had time. I think a traffic barrel would have had a PFF grade better than our left tackle last year. And you have got to take Joe Alt if he's there. Now, if he's not there, you know, you could look at a Brock Bowers. You could entertain a Malik Neighbors, a Marvin Harrison Jr. if he gets there, which I don't think he will. But I really think if Joe Alt is already gone, the Titans are going to trade back and get an extra pick or two and take a lineman late first, early second round. I really don't see a take Alt if he's there. So that's my prediction.
Now,
I
just
totally
because
agree
you
with
said I was the Giants fan, I do have to say, as a Giants fan, get I don't care. Do whatever it takes. If you're gonna go a wide receiver, get Marvin Harrison Jr. somehow, some way, get him. But if you're going the quarterback route, please, for the love of God, do not go J.J. McCarthy. Please. I don't care. What everyone says. Please don't get J.J. McCarthy. Go get Jaden Daniels. Trade up to the 2. I don't care what it takes. Do not get J.J. McCarthy. That's okay. That's all. That's the rant I wanted to end on.
You're not buying into the McCarthy hype, huh?
No, dude's on. Yo, no, I do not buy it. I do not buy it because here's my thing. Michigan last year, if they had to play Georgia instead of Alabama, they would have got slaughtered. And that's my opinion. I think J.J. McCarthy is the most overhyped player in this draft.
I don't get it either. What pick do the Giants have in the first round?
6th.
Oh, you bastards. If y'all take Joe Alt, I'm driving
No,
to your
I
house.
doubt it. I mean, we got the 2 Georgia guys. We got the 2.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
They're not going to take a lineman. They're either going wide receiver or quarterback. I just highly doubt they're smart enough to take a quarterback because Daniel Jones is not it. He's just not. And they have an opportunity to move up a couple picks. Like, you have the 6th pick. Like, just trade with the Cardinals something, get a quarterback. I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks in this draft. Shit, I would take Joe Milton over J.J. McCarthy. I hate to say it. But I would.
You know, tying it back into Tennessee, the Giants could be a potential suitor for one Jalen Wright, unless you want to rely on.
He won't go. He won't go. He won't go in the first round.
Yeah. I'm talking about just this in the second or third.
No, you're right. I 100% agree. I mean, they don't have a running back.
I mean, Devin Singletary. Does anybody really trust him?
No.
I mean,
No. That's no.
So, anything else you got tonight, Jim?
No, I just know that all you SEC fans better be worried if Tennessee lands. If Tennessee lands 4 of those 4 guys for basketball, oh man, better watch out.
Train's coming.
But yeah, other than that, I'm going to give you a go Vols. Let's go slaughter some Tigers this weekend and keep the hot streak going.
Yep, absolutely, man. Go Vols.
Go Vols.